Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to episode number 174 here on season number 2. And today we are getting into realty shares overview. These videos are meant for educational purposes only and not meant to be taken as financial advice. You're responsible for your assets and to properly protect them. So always please do your own research. Over like the next few days or maybe like a few days a week, I'll be looking into this company called realty shares. Well, in realty shares, like to kind of like give you, I guess, more or less a brief overview, which is what we'll be doing today. Realty shares, pulled straight from their website, creates innovative research-driven investment products and solutions to help minimize the effects of market noise and emotion on investment performance. Basically, in essence, they're an investment company that offers ETFs and that kind of stuff, and that's what we're going to be focusing more on is the ETFs and the instruments that they use, and not so much like just the company and how they're doing as a whole. So basically, I wanted to take a more in-depth approach into like a company and then also the different ETFs that they offer. So this company does offer 6 different ETFs ranging from blockchain exposure to ETFs that look for dividend growth and also short companies that plan to decrease their dividends or cut their dividends as well. With each episode, I plan on doing a different ETF or addressing like a different tool and strategy that they use on their ETF, like I was saying a little bit ago. To give a little bit, I guess, more of like a breakdown on what some of the tools are that they use this thing called divcon, which is basically a dividend, in essence, to simplify it, it's like a dividend ranking system, similar to the way, if you've been in the military or maybe you've heard of the term defcon rating system, which is a like 1 through 5 on how likely we are maybe to get into a nuclear war. At least that's what I think the defcon system rating is. If not, let me know down in the comments because I would love to stand corrected. It's a 5-point system in which they rank stocks. A 5 out of 5 would be a company that's likely to increase their dividend in the next 12 months. However, if you are ranked a 1 out of 5, then you are likely to decrease or cut your dividend in the next 12 months. There's everything in between pretty much. There's 4, which would be likely, but not as likely as a 5. And then there would be a 3, which would be neither decrease nor increase. And then a 2 would be likely to decrease, but not as likely as a 1. So one video I watched on Realty Shares website, they were talking and discussing divcon, and they were talking about the percentage of how likely they are to predict whether a company will increase that dividend that's rated at a 5%. So if a company is rated a 5 out of 5, so likely to increase their dividend in the next 12 months, they will be able to predict with 96% accuracy that stock will increase over the next 12 months. So that's almost boastful about what they've been doing. And then also, if you're like wondering, like, okay, well, what was the downside? They also happen to talk about like, if a company was rated a 1, how likely were they, and how likely was Realty Shares able to predict whether that company would decrease or cut their dividend over the next 12 months. And basically they said with like, I think it was around like a 36% accuracy that they would predict whether that company would cut or decrease that dividend. And I think the reason why they weren't as accurate with that is because companies will literally, and they kind of allude to this also in their videos, that companies will literally do almost anything to not cut that dividend or to decrease that dividend, because that shows signs of typically decreased revenue or that company is failing, and so they need to use that money from this area and put it back into the business to maybe help bolster that. Which, I mean, if you're in the growth stocks, that's great. That's typically a good thing. However, when it comes to dividends, it's a little bit different. What are some of the different ETFs that they offer? Here's kind of the breakdown on the 6 different ones. And like I said, over the next couple of videos, we'll go into each one specifically, and then we'll also kind of dive into what is divcon. They also have something called guard indicator. I don't know specifically what the actual tool is called. I can't remember. And then they also have another thing where they use for like the blockchain. The first ETF that they offer is BLCN, which seeks to invest into companies that utilize blockchain technology. It's pretty simple, I guess, what that is. How they go about that, we'll find out later on. The next one is LEAD, or LEAD, which seeks to invest in those companies that are expected to increase their dividends. So this is going to be, from my understanding, maybe a little bit more passive because they're going to use their divcon rating system. The ones that are 5, I believe that those are the ones that get invested into, and that's how they run that kind of ETF in a nutshell, from my understanding. After that, you got DIVY, which tries to actively target capital appreciation through expected dividend growth. Then there is BCNA, which is looking to invest into companies in China that are using the blockchain. Then you got DFND, which invests both into companies that are expected to raise their dividends, and then also short selling the ones that are expected to decrease their dividends. And so in the video that I was watching where he talks about some of the different ETFs that they offer, this one, I believe that they do about 75% into those dividends that are expected to grow, and then about 25% into those dividends that are expected to cut or stop. Lastly, you got GARD, which looks to invest into companies that are expected to raise dividends and also utilizing their GARD indicator to adjust how much exposure they are long versus short. And we'll get into more about what that means in future episodes as well. For me personally, I'm excited to see how each ETF that they offer has performed differently in regards to the market. But I want to just kind of like clear the mud and say this is that just because I'm covering these ETFs does not mean that I think you should go buy, sell, hold, or whatever it may be with these ETFs. That's for you to decide, and that's for you to do your own research. These videos are merely to help educate you in what these ETFs offer and what the company does as a whole. But if you're looking for that kind of thing, I would consider talking with a financial advisor and kind of figuring out what the best approach for you would be when it comes to investing. We'll go ahead and leave right there. Let's jump into the question of the day really quickly, which is a hot dog a sandwich? And I might have answered this question like in year ago past. I said like literally I think that this is technically it's a sandwich because it's 2 pieces of bread put together. However, we in the States call it a hot dog because that's what we've always called it. I think it's called a hot dog in a bun, more or less. Like you can have a hot dog that's just straight a hot dog. You don't gotta have a bun on it. But I don't think adding a bun makes it a sandwich. I would say this, a Philly cheesesteak is a sandwich though. Like a Philly cheesesteak sandwich is a sandwich, and that utilizes basically the same kind of bun that you use for a hot dog. So technically, yes. However, I don't think most people think of it like that. I think they just think of it like a bun, just like we think of a hamburger as a hamburger and not an actual like hamburger sandwich. You know what I'm saying? I guess you could call it a hot dog sandwich if you wanted to, but no one does that. It's way too long to say that. You already got to say hot dog anyways. It's like I always say, if you got a question regarding Stash, Acorns, Robinhood, M1 Finance, as well as general investing, business, Etsy, coaching, feel free to post those questions down below. Please don't forget to subscribe right up here. Check out these videos right here in the link. And as always, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it.